Hi folks, welcome back. So today we're back with Epica. This is my third or fourth time listening to Epica and really enjoyed what I've heard so far. This request comes in from Insolent Umbrella over on my Patreon page. Fantastic username. Let's do Epica Kingdom of Heaven Part 3. I'll give you a little more of a description this time, hopefully without it being too much. So if this is your first time to the channel, the reason why they've said that is because they know that if I'm listening to a band for the first time, I intentionally don't do any sort of prior research or anything like that to give me as much of an unbiased opinion about what's going on without any sort of preconceived notions. Anyway, I've heard Epica a few times now, so I'm getting a little bit more info. This recording is from a live streaming concert called Omega Alive that Epica did for their fans during the pandemic to promote their newly released Omega album while they were unable to tour. The audio differs enough from the studio recording to know it was truly a live performance. However, there was obviously some post-processing applied to the released video. I mean, that's kind of standard fare these days, isn't it? Everybody's kind of doing that, so fair enough. As with everything Epica, it would be an understatement to say the stage/set they put together for the streaming concert was elaborate. The song, Part 3, is part of a trilogy of songs, but it is not required for you to listen to them together. They are each unique. The third part happens to be my favorite in the trilogy and is long enough in itself for a reaction without including the others. I consider the song to be prog adjacent. It meanders in several directions, but I personally think it seems to, perhaps barely, come back together as a cohesive unit. All the band members collaborated in writing the piece over a bit of time, and it draws from many influences, including black metal, tick, Tim Burton's Corpse Bride, tick tick, Danny Elfman's A Genius. I'm presuming they mean the music as opposed to the visuals, but who knows. Jen's flute from the Dark Crystal movie. My goodness, there's a blast from the past. Little bit of trivia. One of my wife's friends worked on the sort of revamp of the Dark Crystal. Remember they'd made it like a series for it for Netflix or something a few years ago. She was one of the puppeteers, so there you go. And Rachmaninoff. There he is, big Sergei himself. Don't know if you can make that out in the shot. Big Rachmaninoff. He's the trifecta. Chopin, Rachmaninoff, Schumann. Yes. Anyway, I'm not sure it's their best piece ever, but it's still certainly one of the most enjoyable. Over and out. So, format of this video, folks, going to listen to the song in its entirety without any interruptions, maybe give you a few sort of initial thoughts after that, and then I'm going to run back through it again, pause, maybe give you some sort of further, expound on some ideas, or maybe break some of it down and stuff. We'll see how it goes, but there we go. Let's get going. Fiery. Why is it none of you guys ever request me to react to just like a Bob Dylan acoustic song or something? These massive symphonic epics. This is, where do you start with this? Come on. It's incredible. I don't know. I don't even know where to start, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's funny. One thought that did come into my head was like the stage design and how sort of symmetrical and my underlying OCD side was like, oh yes, I'm really liking this is measured out all really well. But one glove, the singer Simone only had one glove on this hand and the other no glove on this side, and was like, what, 2 gloves or no gloves? But there's probably something symbolic on that, isn't there? Dark and light, or is it just a fashion design aesthetic? Who knows? But that was the one thing that stood out to me of the unbalanced compared to everything else. Anyway, I'm being silly, of course. But yeah, piano's on fire, lots of fire. Incredible music, so in terms of the structure, it's pretty much impossible to listen to this on one go and go, here's the structure, as well as, unless that's the only purpose I have, is let me try and determine the structure of this. I'm trying to take in everything as much as I can so I can give you, plenty of juice, plenty of stuff to think about. So, even on my second go, it's going to be hard, but I certainly did hear repeating motifs and stuff like that. It's definitely not through composed. It's not straight through. You are getting bits coming back again. But I love the way it meanders, lots of tempo shifts, modulations, different thematic things coming in and out. Really incredible, actually, the amount of things that are going on, but yet, actually, to use your words, insolent umbrella, used the cohesive word, and there is that. It has this journey to it of sort of familiarity. Where are we going? Familiarity. Oh, where are we going? But yet it all sort of ties together sort of effortlessly. The main thing I really should say is that despite whatever sort of post-production stuff might be going on in the background, the sheer level of performance in a piece of music like that it's a lot of complexity in that. It's one thing to form this piece of music. It's another thing to perform it like this with the different members involved, and what flawless execution in the performance from everyone. Guitar tones sounded incredible. Lead vocal performance is immaculate, just stunning. The drumming, the keyboard playing, everything about it, and then obviously the theatrical. They're big on the theatrics, and those even being in time with triggered with the sort of cymbal hits and stuff like that, firework things and all, and fire and all the rest of it. So there you go, initial thoughts. Right, so shall we run it back through? Might be here for a couple of weeks going through this one. Dog's asleep, so anyway, let's get going. Please consider taking a moment to check out my other channel, JW Soundworks, where you will find unique cover song performances, newly composed piano arrangements, and all of my self-composed original music. So the jingly jinglies up there. I quite like the dancers on the chandelier. You know, that sort of tied the the audio of the sort of shimmering sounds with the visual sounds of the crystals. I like that. You can hear the sound of the fire. Now, it's been so long since I've seen a dark crystal, I can't remember the theme from Jen's flute. You know, I can't remember it and would need to listen to it again. But I'm guessing that's the thing you talked about, the flute aspect, you know. There was a part in the middle somewhere where things got sort of, not weird as such, but there was more of a departure at one point in the song. I'll sort of try and remember to point it out. And that was a bit of anything that made me think of, maybe something by Danny Elfman. But other than that, I didn't really get those moments coming through to me anywhere else. I don't think so, anyway. So you can hear, although, that you got this. Let's see, what key are we in? D minor. So although the melody, I guess our ear is being drawn to this. I think that's what we're getting. There's also there's counterpoint. So you can hear there's like a harmony going the whole way through. So it thickens it out, playing slightly different notes. Slightly lower in the mix. I think it might be in 3-part harmony there actually at times. And filling out the chord. This kind of thing. You got this sort of anxious trembling underneath. You know, I like that, because think of that melody being completely on its own without that, it would have a different sort of feel. There's a nervous undercurrent. There's a C sharp. Now that featured prominently a lot throughout the piece, so we're definitely using like harmonic minors and things like that, where you get these sort of very classical inspired harmony. If that's the key, the tonic key, D minor, but you have the dominant, the fifth on that, A major, has a C sharp. If I can play it. So that's the raised seventh in the D minor scale. So we get a lot of that. Or even the B flat as well. I think that probably featured at some point. There you go, there's a B flat. Took me a minute to get it for some reason, but I haven't had any breakfast, that's probably why, and not enough coffee. Back to the A. Beautiful. Is it a viola or a violin? My initial thought was a violin, but I don't know. It's a lovely tone off that single instrument, and obviously the ensemble comes in underneath behind that. Beautiful warmth. Yeah, that's an unusual chord, isn't it? We didn't really expect that if we're in D minor and stuff. G major. Yeah, so I think that's B flat C. To the A. To the G major. It's unusual harmony. And then the parallel minor. The G minor, it's a nice switch. Here's some brass coming in the background over in the left. Oh, big shift. There we go. So there's a bit of a Terminator thing going on there. It's maybe just the repeated notes on the ostinato. But let's maybe think about the time signature. You know, it could be on different, you know, it could be a few different options for the time signature. I think the main one I thought of was 12/8, because I kind of felt like there were 4 beats that elapsed before we sort of made it to the next sort of bulk of the phrase. But then that would set it at a very, very slow tempo. But then I thought, you know, so what way do we listen to it? Do we listen to this? Dum, ba, 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 bum, 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 bum. Da, dun, 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 but it doesn't have that energy. To me, it's a lot slower. Dun, 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 2, 3, 4, dun, dun, dun. So that's a very slow beat, you know, BPM. That's just how I feel it. You know, you could feel it twice as fast as that, in which case you might think it's in 6/8 maybe. But there we go. 3, 4. It's kind of how I feel it. Wires, everything. Military snare as well. There's a 9th, or a suspended 2nd, or a suspended 9th. Give me that all day. That's just beautiful to me. I use that a lot in my own music as well, because it's just like, do you know what I mean? Instead of this, our ears kind of want us to go to either the D or maybe the 3rd or the 5th, but to land on the 2nd or the 9th, because it's an octave higher, it usually resolves those suspensions. Beautiful to me. B flat, C, there's the E, against the D at the back, yeah. Now, there we go. How do we go from D minor to F minor? Wow. Yeah, so that is a surprise. It was a surprise the first time as well. You know, when the band finally come in, it's in a completely different key than you expect it to be. Yeah, I love that shift. So much going on in the you know, the rhythm parts, the guitar and stuff like that. You hear, you just talked about the black metal thing, you know, with the tremolo strumming on the guitar, you know, and obviously you have the double kick and all the rest there, and the drums. But if you listen, they're not just sort of stationary, because the keyboards and, you know, whatever orchestral arrangement that's going on around it is sort of providing us with that sort of main melody. So our ears being drawn to that. But I love the fact that even though underneath it, you could just sort of underpin it with there's sort of textural stuff going on there in the guitars. Na, 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 na. That triplet thing there was, you know, the first time it's on the snare drum, and then everything together there. So that's actually, you could call that a motif, because it hasn't happened in an isolated occurrence. It's twice now. Going to the A flat this time. Into the major. What's that key though? It's a B flat minor, because there's another, yeah, that would be another second or ninth, if you want to call it, the goddess there. Yeah. And another modulation, because that's bringing us home in it. Dun, 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 dun. But where does it go? Take your pick, C sharp minor or D flat minor. It's the same, you know, all flats or all sharps. Another big leap. Is that a fourth away? No, it only would be if you ended up in the F. Anyway, that's internal dialogue that somehow got out. Anyway, let's go on. Oh. Right, well, that makes sense. So that's just a modulating passage there. It's moving around, didn't sort of sit or arrive in that case, just a modulating passage. There's the C, which would be the fifth if we're in F minor. We're starting in C major there with the vocals. Guess it gives a slight Eastern vibes with the scale that she's in. You know, because it is, although the harmony is C major there, it's not the notes from the C major scale. It's actually more in common with the F minor. Something similar to that. Those are the notes from the F minor scale. Do you see what I mean about this sort of Eastern sort of? I have to admit, I can't stop on every single one because it happens so many times. But the tail end of the phrases, the drum fills tying in with the makes me think a little bit of some of the sort of early 2000s, maybe late 90s Opeth stuff. Those intricate sort of woven lines they're just passing fills really to get us from one section to another, but it's so intricately crafted. Really appreciate that kind of stuff. That takes a lot of time and effort, you know, to compose that stuff. There you can hear quite obviously the post-production stuff going on because there's harmony vocals of herself in the background. Now they're quite low in the mix, but that's one of the places that you can kind of hear that. Obviously there was a whole orchestra before and we don't see an orchestra. But anyway. So obviously the instrumentation is moving around there a lot, but actually what's jumping out to me here, more so, I don't even know if I picked up on this the first time, is the dialogue between the lead vocalist and the choir. This is quite really cleverly worked out. If you listen to just the sort of conversation. All the stars are by your side. This bright does shine inside. I like that. Back and forth. Now, it could be just a coincidence, but as I was saying about the 12/8 thing there, you notice how slow that's almost into sort of doom territory. A real drowsy kind of feeling. You know, it definitely feels like a long 4 rather than a shorter 2. And I guess now, obviously, another thing it's brought in here is the sort of piano part, which is a little bit difficult to pick out in the mix. Okay, it's hard. I'm kind of getting tangled up here with leads. We should really work out the key first. Where are we? There's the G again. It's actually C minor this time, not C major. So it's C minor, F minor, and G there. And I know it moves around a wee bit more, but just to try and get close to... some sort of thing like that, you're probably going to hear a wee bit of a delay because my buffer settings are wrong in Logic. I think they're set at 102, 1048 or something like that, so my computer wouldn't... Anyway, sorry, that's technical stuff. It's not very interesting, but I can feel like a slight delay from whenever I press the note before I hear it. That could be fun during editing. Anyway, but yeah, do you hear that da-da-da-da-da-da sort of descending triplet pattern? Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. I noticed that a few times throughout the song. You can always hear the da-da-da-dum, which is harking back from the jun-jun-jun, or the snare hits I talked about. You can hear it in the piano part. You know, it's not exactly those notes, but you can hear the motif. Like I said, I mean, I could sit and work out the exact notes of what he's doing, but I have a lot of stuff to go through, and we need to keep going, otherwise my camera will probably spontaneously combust, as will I. Vocal harmonies. There's the A flat. Oh. What is that? Is that diminished? Could be. Feels like something close to that. There's the triplet thing again. Didn't do it that time. That whole section is really reminiscent of some sort of late 90s proggy death metal. Maybe like Dissection or something like that, you know? Kind of very similar to what we've had before. Dialogue again. Double kick work. Listen to how precise that is there. So intricate between the bass guitars and the double kick. not a single note that's being improvised on that double kick. That's precisely the rhythm. I love that.
Just as water turns to snow, what is above so is below. In time we learn to hear the sounds. We can hear ourselves. Use this heat.
If you strip out the sort of overt strings and orchestral arrangement in that, that sends me back to like maybe In a Reverie era, Lacuna Coil, Unleashed Memories. It's very similar, you know, in sort of tone. And obviously the singing is very, very close to it, like, but with this whole sort of ornate orchestration on top and stuff like that, it definitely separates it.
Ourselves. Use this healing energy. Form a whole.
To clarify, those albums I just talked about are like personal favorites. You know, grew up listening to that stuff and like hold a very, very special place in me. Beautiful, you know, music that's very emotive, and you know, it's not sort of designed in a way to sort of show off. Although the performers are all virtuosos and could, you know, I just love that. It's very sort of big on emotion and beautiful melodies that once you hear them once or twice, they're in there. You know, very well composed music.
Healing energy. Form a holy trinity. This is the knowledge that we have been searching.
Triplets again. Da, 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 da. So there's quite a few triplets being used throughout.
This is the knowledge that we have been searching
Now he's in B minor. Something like that, isn't it? I can hear the Rachmaninoff thing you were talking about, because all of these. It's a, got this march. Actually, in that Rachmaninoff prelude, you know, I think that's actually one of the directions at the start of it, is that it's very like a march. And we did have this sort of orchestral snare in the background, providing military kind of feels. So that on the piano now, it's very militaristic. What a shift. Must be down to G. Yeah, so because you can hear the sort of wee run coming down to B minor. I need to listen to it again, but it's like some wee run like that. Yeah, I think that's it. Is that it? Are there harmonies under that? Why am I putting harmonies in this, making it more complicated? Let's keep moving. Keep getting these sort of, or something like it. So it's kind of using the B minor chord and its different inversions, like root position, first position, second position, or first inversion, second inversion, sort of moving up. That's kind of like, I mean, I'm a classically trained piano player, and I teach classical piano and stuff like that. So this is in my wheelhouse, like. But yeah, so not only Rachmaninoff, you get a lot. That's quite pervasive in sort of romantic era, you know, in sort of 19th century piano music. I also love the sort of upright piano sound. Now I know there's an upright piano being used there, and it's on fire. Obviously, in case you haven't noticed, it's on fire. But I don't really understand what way is that done, because he doesn't look like he's miming. But surely that's not mic'd up. How can you mic up a piano that's on fire without, you know, resulting in deaths for people that are present? You know, but I mean, the sound matches that upright piano. Is that what's going on there? There's no microphones there. You know, have we got sort of fire resistant microphones? Has he got a microphone on him or something to hear this? Even if it's on fire, no, the surface. This is such a technical thing going on. I really, maybe if some of the crew involved in this sees this video, you can fill me in. How exactly was this achieved? I mean, it doesn't look mimed. It's very close. I don't know. There are microphones down the back, because typically you'd mic an upright piano with the lid open, and you know you have your mics down inside like this. But maybe there's a microphone around the back of the piano and that's capturing it. I don't know. But this is definitely something I've never seen before. B major into there. You can hear it looks like he's playing did he play just the fifth? Because his looked more like a minor, and you can definitely hear there's the D sharp in there whenever the orchestra comes in, or the choir. Oh, he does play a D sharp. There's the major there. I don't know, you can't even see that in my shot. I'll play it there. D sharp, F sharp. Into major. Nice. It started in B minor, finishes in B major. Very clever. I'm acutely aware that my timer might run out of my camera, so I'm going to use this opportunity to make sure we restart. Okay, so let's keep going. Not majestic, beautiful. There's that ninth or second again, if you want to say it. You know, so we're in B major. The next chord is G major, but it's got an A on top of it. There's that clash I talked and waxed lyrical about earlier on, so it's being used. Another motif here, you know, or another trait. It's technically like a G sus2. Or a G odd 9 type chord. Yeah. Close to that, not exact. So it's all within the first sort of 5 or 6 notes of the B minor scale. Again, very classical, you know, a bit Bachian. If you're passionate about piano, whether as a player or listener, or if you're considering online lessons or masterclasses, please visit my YouTube channel, JW Piano Works. There you'll discover a wealth of piano performances, with many more to come. Based on demand, I'll also be introducing video tutorials for piano pieces. Thank you. Riffing. I love this real juxtaposition. I guess you do get this in black metal as well, you know, where there's a lot of fast movement and fast energy. And then on top of that, you've got this sort of very slow, dreamy kind of stuff. I love those two things. You know, it works so well together, like sort of two opposite, you know, thematic kind of things going on. The guitars are slow, but the drums are incredibly fast. Very proggy there. There's that theme where we're back to D minor. Will be there. So you can hear that's, you know, definitely not through composed, definitely a lot of structure involved. Also, sorry, that was a quick interruption, so I was a wee bit too much, wasn't it? Sorry to spring that on you. There's some sort of glockenspiel, xylophone, marimba type thing layered in there. Hear it? Oh, into the strings.
United by nature, our coherence. We all are part of each other. Together we stand strong. Together we are one.
A distorted bass underneath, yeah. This bit. I think there's definitely a diminished chord in it. It's very Nightmare Before Christmas stuff in it. Side note on the Danny Elfman thing, you know, obviously I'm sure a lot of us have grew up watching, you know, Tim Burton and Danny Elfman. So, well, Danny Elfman is on so many of his soundtracks, isn't he? You know, the films, the movies. But I only recently, when I say recently, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, started listening to Oingo Boingo. I wasn't even aware of that whole history of Danny Elfman being in a band and all before he became a composer. There's some really cool, wacky footage of them in the, when would it be? It's either late 70s or 80s. I've watched some live stuff. Danny Elfman at the front with a guitar. They're superb. Really wacky band, like, but go and check them out if you haven't listened to them before. Really good.
As we linger towards our final breath, forge yourself, be ready for the moment of your death.
This is very theatrical. I don't think I've ever brought this up before with this band, but certainly with Simone. Is there any sort of musical theater education in her history? You know, is this sort of just her natural way of performing, or do you know, as any, you know, at any point was she involved in sort of musical productions and things like that? Is the set design and the theatrics even amongst the band? Get the impression that somebody in there is sort of theater school, you know, trained. She doesn't. Her vocal doesn't make me think so much of that, because you think of the sort of way, you know, people that are sort of trained in musical theater have a very sort of, they enunciate and articulate in a very sort of precise kind of manner that you can usually pick up. There's something about her gestures and her sort of charisma on stage. I don't know whether any part of that is sort of Broadway related, you know. You know what I mean? I'm talking loosely. I don't mean necessarily Broadway. But yeah, just curious about if there's any of that there. If not, it's she's very naturally theatrical in her performance.
Moment of your death.
Gauge him with a camera. That sounded like a sort of blend of some of the themes we had before, da 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 da, and da 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 da. You know, the sort of tail ends of the phrases I was talking before. This is going to be one long ass video, guys. See this bit, right? The closest thing musically that sounds like to me, stylistically, not so much in the production, an Italian band, Eiffel Droit. Anybody out there know them? It was Formula and Reformula. There's some sort of older albums, like, but very, very out there, black metal kind of stuff, but you know, way more experimental than what we've got here. But this section is quite experimental, and it's sort of making me think. On the, yeah, very similar. Sick blast beats. That's very 90s black metal, like that's nice stuff, yeah. Yeah, I had a feeling we were back in C there. The solo made me think of a particular guitarist. Not like a mimic, don't get me wrong, or a clone, but it gave me an impression like, oh, I just went straight to Sales of Sharon by Scorpions, Uli John Roth. It's probably because of the stylistically, he's very big on melody. There was a sort of sweep picking arpeggio. I'd need to hear it again to hear that there was a at the end, very similar to part of the introduction guitar solo on that Scorpions song. But that, what's it? That's the Scorpions. Like, I mean, I've never played it before, but that's approximately from what I remember. It's been a while, but going up in those harmonies. Yeah, anyway. bit. Dual solo. And yeah, I mean, this contraption. I don't know. It's great theatrics. Something like that. So it's coming down the same sort of notes. It's actually played very much like a guitar. These a guitar where you'd have the bends on the piano. Using the mod wheel on the keys as well. Absolutely favorite thing about that whole solo was melody, expression, emotion. That's a solo. I know you got there's a couple of wee flourishes in there, like you got to pepper a wee bit like that, but it wasn't just a shred fest. Love it. Again. Great chorus. Not only are her vocals immaculate, but the tone of her voice, it really suits the band so well. She manages to cut through the mix without being cutting in any way. There's a real roundness to her voice. The tone of her voice is really beautiful, especially up in those registers. You know, you get a soprano way up in there, usually it gets a wee bit screechy. But she's certainly in the soprano range at times there anyway. Beautiful song. There had to be a gong at the end, you know. Such an epic. You know, it's got the Bohemian Rhapsody vibes, hasn't it? You got a big epic journey like that in a song. The only way to finish it is with a gong. That rhymed. Anyway, thanks very much for this request. This is epic stuff. I'm going to go and get a coffee. Maybe have something to eat. And yeah, have a good one, guys. If you enjoyed this, please do like and subscribe. Comment below and consider joining me over on Patreon with all the cool kids over there. Signing out. If you're passionate about piano, whether as a player or listener, or if you're considering online lessons or masterclasses, please visit my YouTube channel, JW Piano Works. There you'll discover a wealth of piano performances, with many more to come. Based on demand, I'll also be introducing video tutorials for piano pieces. Thank you.